Welcome. Today we will read Lesson 60 from the workbook, and from the text we will read Chapter 6, Section 5, Subsection C, Be vigilant only for God and His kingdom, paragraphs 1 through 5. And now for Lesson 60. These ideas are for today's review. 46. God is the love in which I forgive. God does not forgive because He has never condemned. The blameless cannot blame, and those who have accepted their innocence see nothing to forgive. Yet forgiveness is the means by which I will recognize my innocence. It is the reflection of God's love on earth. It will bring me near enough to heaven that the love of God can reach down to me and raise me up to Him. 47. God is the strength in which I trust. It is not my own strength through which I forgive. It is through the strength of God in me, which I am remembering as I forgive. As I begin to see, I recognize His reflection on earth. I forgive all things because I feel the stirring of His strength in me. And I begin to remember the love I chose to forget, but which has not forgotten me. 48. There is nothing to fear. How safe the world will look to me when I can see it. It will not look anything like what I imagine I see now. Everyone and everything I see will lean toward me to bless me. I will recognize in everyone my dearest friend. What could there be to fear in a world that I have forgiven and that has forgiven me? God's voice speaks to me all through the day. There is not a moment in which God's voice ceases to call on my forgiveness to save me. There is not a moment in which His voice fails to direct my thoughts, guide my actions, and lead my feet. I am walking steadily on toward truth. There is nowhere else I can go, because God's voice is the only voice and the only guide that has been given to His Son. 50. I am sustained by the love of God. As I listen to God's voice, I am sustained by His love. As I open my eyes, His love lights up the world for me to see. As I forgive, His love reminds me that His Son is sinless. And as I look upon the world with the vision He has given me, I remember that I am His Son. We are told in this last review lesson that God as love does not forgive, because love does not condemn. The innocent do not blame, and some form of attack is required before forgiveness is needed. Forgiveness is the undoing of the guilty attack and comes from the strength of love itself. In innocence and seeing the world without judgment, one has nothing to fear, and one feels blessed by everyone and everything. One's inner teacher instructs one throughout the day constantly, and by teaching one's healing through forgiveness, one is guided forward to the truth. And in the seeing of a forgiven world, that the memory is returned to oneself, that one is the only begotten creation of love itself. And for today's reading, we will read Chapter 6, Section 5, Subsection C, Be vigilant only for God and His kingdom, paragraphs 1 through 5. We said before that the Holy Spirit is evaluative and must be. He sorts out the true from the false in your mind and teaches you to judge every thought you allow to enter it in the light of what God put there. Whatever is in accord with this light, He retains to strengthen the kingdom in you. What is partly in accord with it, He accepts and purifies. But what is out of accord entirely, He rejects by judging against. This is how He keeps the kingdom perfectly consistent and perfectly unified. Remember, however, that what the Holy Spirit rejects, the ego accepts. This is because they are in fundamental disagreement about everything. Being in fundamental disagreement about what you are. The ego's beliefs on this crucial issue vary, and that is why it promotes different moods. The Holy Spirit never varies on this point, and so the one mood he engenders is joy. He protects it by rejecting everything that does not foster joy, and so he alone can keep you wholly joyous. The Holy Spirit does not teach you to judge others, because he does not want you to teach error and learn it yourself. He would hardly be consistent if he allowed you to strengthen what you must learn to avoid. In the mind of the thinker, then, he is judgmental, but only in order to unify the mind so it can perceive without judgment. This enables the mind to teach without judgment, and therefore to learn to be without judgment. The undoing is necessary only in your mind, so that you will not project instead of extend. God himself has established what you can extend with perfect safety. Therefore, the Holy Spirit's third lesson is: be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. This is a major step toward fundamental change. Yet it still has an aspect of thought reversal, since it implies that there is something you must be vigilant against. It has advanced far from the first lesson, which is merely the beginning of the thought reversal, and also from the second, which is essentially the identification of what is more desirable. This step, which follows from the second, as the second follows from the first, emphasizes the dichotomy between the desirable and the undesirable. It therefore makes the ultimate choice inevitable. While the first step seems to increase conflict, and the second may still entail conflict to some extent, this step calls for consistent vigilance against it. I have already told you that you can be as vigilant against the ego as for it. This lesson teaches not only that you can be, but that you must be. It does not concern itself with order of difficulty, but with clear-cut priority for vigilance. This lesson is unequivocal in that it teaches there must be no exceptions, although it does not deny that the temptation to make exceptions will occur. Here, then, your consistency is called on despite chaos. Yet chaos and consistency cannot coexist for long, since they are mutually exclusive. As long as you must be vigilant against anything, however, you are not recognizing this mutual exclusiveness and still believe that you can choose either one. By teaching what to choose, the Holy Spirit will ultimately teach you that you need not choose at all. This will finally liberate your mind from choice and direct it toward creation within the kingdom. Choosing through the Holy Spirit will lead you to the kingdom. You create by your true being, but what you are, you must learn to remember. The way to remember it is inherent in the third step, which brings together the lessons implied in the others and goes beyond them toward real integration. If you allow yourself to have in your mind only what God put there, you are acknowledging your mind as God created it. Therefore, you are accepting it as it is. Since it is whole, you are teaching peace because you believe in it. The final step will still be taken for you by God, but by the third step, the Holy Spirit has prepared you for God. He is getting you ready for the translation of having into being by the very nature of the steps you must take with Him. In this third step in the lessons of the Holy Spirit, be vigilant only for God and His kingdom. We are being asked to sustain one's awareness of love's presence by being attentive to the thoughts arising in one's mind. That which is consistent with the Holy Spirit's thought system is to be retained, and that which is in conflict with it is released. That which is partially aligned with love is offered to the Holy Spirit for purification, where the fear is removed. This step makes a clear distinction of the desirable and the undesirable, of the importance of maintaining consistency in the choosing of a thought system, and is being called upon to be vigilant against the ego's thought system. One is being asked to keep in one's awareness only what love has placed there, and thus one is proclaiming one's mind to be as love created it.